Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. It's great having you on the channel today. We're watching a Cape Verde tropical wave that could impact much of the Atlantic as we head over the next several days to couple weeks. And could it potentially impact the Northeast Caribbean islands or maybe even the U.S. East Coast? We'll get into all the details. Let's get into it. So our area of concern here. This is a pretty large area. It's this Cape Verde wave just south of the Cape Verde Islands here. It exited off the African coastline. You can see it's got a lot of shower and thunderstorm action with it. It's going to continue to slowly strengthen over the next week. And as you can see, we have a tropical wave approaching the southern Lesser Antilles here. Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, Barbados. Watch out. You could see some gusty showers and thunderstorms. Bahamas getting quite a bit in the way of rain and thunderstorms around Puerto Rico, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and Jamaica as well. So here we are, starting off with the GFS, and then I'll show you the Euro in several minutes from now. So let's take a look as we head through. We're looking at our Cape Verde wave here that's exited the African coast. That is going to be our area of concern. You see this red outline. This is going to be our area for potential development. Now, the GFS intensifies this much more rapidly, I'll give you a hint here, than the European does. By September 5th, we already have a storm on the GFS and potential hurricane by the 7th. So you can see factors that could be influencing this is this major high to the north. So depending on how strong this storm gets, it could find a weakness in the subtropical ridge and try to recurve. Behind it, we have several tropical waves lining up. You can see just off the coast of Africa, and within Central Africa, we're just lining up these waves as they pinwheel right across Central Africa there. Now, we're also watching this up here across the Northern Gulf and off the Southeast Coast. This is going to be our key to whether this storm recurves out into the Atlantic or it continues westward. So here we go. There is some divergence in the GFS versus the Euro. I'll give you a hint there as we head through September 8th and 9th. But here we go. This run of the GFS getting this as a major hurricane, getting pretty close to the Northeast Caribbean islands. That's why I say this far out, a lot can change. So don't take your eyes off this if you're in the Eastern and Northern Caribbean islands. Please don't keep your eyes off this because look how close this is. Margin of error this far out is like in this range right here. So you could still get in on this. This far out, depending on how far this shifts. Now, behind it, you can see these are some strong tropical waves lining up here. We're going to watch for quite a bit of tropical wave explosion as we head through September 11th here. Now, through this time, you can see Jamaica does start to get in on some of these showers and thunder showers. Also, the Bahamas during this time while our hurricane is being drawn up here around this periphery of this subtropical high and this low pressure off the U.S. East Coast, this trough, so to speak. It's going to come pretty close, if not over Bermuda under this scenario. So watch out. This would be a really devastating hit for Bermuda, a major hurricane. But you can see high pressure building in behind it off the U.S. East Coast. That would keep this storm pushing out throughout parts of the North Atlantic between these two areas of high pressure and being drawn up like a magnet on this trough. Now, I want to show you something here on the southern end of this trough that's interesting. As this storm merges with this frontal boundary, which I do want to show you right here, this is a little bit troubling on this frame. You can see it pulls, it's kind of like a tropical moisture surge conveyor belt here across parts of Puerto Rico, St. Croix here, the Northern Virgin Islands. So that's something we're going to have to keep a very close watch on. And behind it, tropical waves are exploding. So as we get all across the last couple frames here, this is the troubling thing that starts to happen on the GFS, because now, instead of a clean exit between these two highs and this trough, that trough gets squeezed to the northeast as these high pressures start to combine. And this forces the system into a hard left turn. Not to say this is going to happen. This is September 15th. A lot can change between now and then. However, we just need to be aware that this, this is a scenario that may potentially could happen more likely than not. Probably won't happen, but the fact that this is even a solution is a little bit disturbing at this point. Now, if you look at what kind of system this is by this point, it's more or less a massive storm that's kind of combined forces with a trough and a cold front, because you can see the structure of this. You got the tropical moisture heading to the northeast, and then you have this massive low cut off to the west, what's left of our hurricane. So this looks like a massive area of low pressure, whether it's a hurricane or subtropical or even a extratropical storm by this point, will remain to be seen. But a low pressure with this kind of intensity left over from a major hurricane can cause some serious damage, and this could become a major problem if this solution continues with this trend. So let's take a look at the Caribbean here. Now, focusing on Central America and the Caribbean here before we flip over to the Euro, you can see as we stretch through the 5th, 6th, we do have some showers and thunderstorms moving through Honduras, Nicaragua, also through Trinidad, Tobago here, Grenada. These areas, we're looking at some showers and some heavier thunder showers as well. You can see Central America drying out into early next week, right around the 8th. But watch this tropical wave. It's going to flare up some moisture around Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic and Haiti right around the 8th into the 9th. And that's going to parallel our big major hurricane taking off here right around the 10th. You see some showers and thunderstorms moving up with this tropical wave. We do have one making it into the Bay of Campeche over here as well. So watch out for that. Bahamas and South Florida really socked in with a lot of showers and thunderstorms. But there it is on the southern periphery as this low pressure moves through. There is that tropical moisture kicking through. And thanks to Tropical Tidbits for our tropical Atlantic analysis here with the European model. As we progress through Wednesday into Thursday, here's our system trying to initialize. European blowing it up pretty quickly here. As we continue through the weekend, it's likely going to become a hurricane as we head into next week. European, however, keeps it a little bit weaker, longer, putting it more in line with the Lesser Antilles and the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. This is a development we'll have to keep an eye on. Also, another system trying to form behind it. And look at this big tropical wave, pretty far to the south for this time of year. It does start to become a hurricane by September 11th here. So we're starting to see that continuing, that trend on the European model. So just clipping the islands here, very similar to the way Erin did. And then moving up with this trough, this perfectly timed East Coast trough, bringing the storm up like this. Now, as we continue through time, you can see the intertropical convergence zone continuing to light up here as we have this storm recurving just east of Bermuda by this point. Powerful hurricane. And look at this, another hurricane getting lined up here right around the Cape Verde Islands. And look at this, lighting up the Caribbean and the Gulf with more activity potential. So as we start off here with the Caribbean, Gulf, Central America here from Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras here, Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, all the way up the Yucatan Peninsula to Cancun. You can see kind of clearing through Friday here, but look at what's going to be happening. We're seeing this tropical wave move through the Lesser Antilles, parts of the Dominican Republic, and eventually Jamaica. Now, watch this. You got to watch these fronts that will be draped across the Gulf all the way to the northern part of the Bahamas. That continues through the weekend. We see a tropical wave up here north of Puerto Rico, also one just south of Jamaica that will be providing some heavier showers and thunder showers. Those will continue to move towards Jamaica right around Monday, September 8th here. So look at that, some heavier red and orange returns here. We're also seeing another strong tropical wave moving through the Lesser Antilles here, Northeast Caribbean Islands, Virgin Islands. And here is our system that will be all eyes will be on as we continue through next Tuesday, September 9th. The European keeping it a little bit weaker. That would mean it would be further south. That high pressure system, it wouldn't find the weakness in the subtropical ridge quick enough like some of the GFS ensembles and models are predicting here. So as we see through Thursday, September 11th, you can see it becoming a hurricane, clipping the Northeast Caribbean Islands here, Virgin Islands, Northern Lesser Antilles. Watch out. Please stay tuned because this could subject to change. We could shift further south or further north depending on how strong and quick this system intensifies and this high pressure system is exerted on it. So as we continue, look at that. There's that trough, that front looks like it'll eventually come through for us here. You do start to see this tropical wave approach the Lesser Antilles from Trinidad Tobago up to St. Vincent, all the way up to St. Croix here. So watch out. We're watching another area moving across the central part of the Caribbean here towards Jamaica and eventually the Cayman Islands. But you can see things really lighting up here through September 17th. And here we go for the North Atlantic. Yeah, look at the Western Atlantic here. It is really, really warm. All that upwelling continuing from air in there. Look at the Gulf, though. It is on fire. The Caribbean is really lighting up. And look at even the Cape Verde area, I'm very concerned about because look how warm the MDR has become over the last week. And here we go into the Western Caribbean, Central America. Rainfall totals through the weekend. Look at Jamaica getting upwards of about 30, 40, maybe 50 millimeters. A little bit more here into west central parts of Dominican Republic. Kind of dry here through parts of Central America from Honduras, Belize up to the Cancun area. You may see 20, 30 millimeters on average here. But look at this. As we head through the center of the month, especially that second into the beginning of the third week, this is where things get interesting. Look at parts of Belize here, upwards of 150 millimeters, northern Honduras as well, down to Nicaragua. Costa Rica, yeah, you're seeing quite a bit in tropical moisture. Even some up towards Cancun here, 73 millimeters. Cayman Islands staying normally dry here, 20 to 30 millimeters. But look at Jamaica. Yeah, some areas could approach 100 millimeters here into parts of Dominican Republic, closer to 200 millimeters, with the eastern portion getting right around 40 millimeters on average. And the Western Caribbean here, Central America for the GFS as we stretch the weekend. Yeah, right around 50, 60 millimeters around Jamaica. Look at West Central Dominican Republic, right around 150. Almost nothing here in Belize and much of Honduras, but we'll watch this go out through time. As we stretch through the middle of the month, through the 17th, we do start to see a lot of moisture. Look at parts of northern Jamaica, upwards of 150 to 160 millimeters. Look at west central parts of Dominican Republic, 449 millimeters. That's some intense rain. That's over 8, 9, 10 inches in some cases. So we'll watch out here. Puerto Rico looking around 3 to 5 inches on average here. That's a lot of rain right around St. Croix as well. 85 millimeters. That'll get you up towards 3 to 4 inches. And look at this. Through parts of Central America, most of the heaviest is on the Pacific side, El Salvador, Guatemala side here. And the Eastern Caribbean for your European run, look at Trinidad Tobago down here, 40, 50, maybe 60 millimeters through the weekend. And look at this. Yeah, if the Euro does verify with the system, we could bring some very torrential rain into parts of the Lesser Antilles here, all the way down to portions of St. Vincent, Barbados areas. We could be looking at 100, 125 millimeters in some of these areas. Watch out, the Virgin Islands. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets this close towards 150 millimeters. Puerto Rico, you're looking right around 50 to 70 millimeters. That's going to net you about 3/4 to an inch and a half. But watch out, if this moves a little bit closer, including St. Croix, right around 60 millimeters, so about 3/4 of an inch to an inch of rain. This could shift further west if the European has its way here. As we look to the Eastern Caribbean, our GFS, that tropical wave moving through the southern Lesser Antilles here, Trinidad, Tobago up to St. Vincent, Grenada, Barbados. Yeah, you're eking out 60 to as much as 80 millimeters. There's our potential hurricane moving safely to the northeast on the GFS, but bringing some return tropical moisture on the southern feeder bands here. Some of these areas could approach 100, 150 millimeters out of a scenario like this. You see on the southern Lesser Antilles, too, some areas reaching as high as 179 millimeters. And looking at our feature radar here, you can see across the Gulf, yeah, a big smattering of showers and thunderstorms just continuing here. Southeast coast as well. As we go into the evening hours, these storms across parts of eastern Tennessee, the Appalachians here into western North Carolina. We got some thunderstorms up here across the Midwest through 10 a.m. on Wednesday. So we're already to Wednesday here. Look at that mess across the Gulf here. So yeah, the Gulf continuing to see these thunderstorms bubbling up as we continue to go through time. The next cold front is approaching Ohio here as we get into Thursday. Look at this. So Thursday the 4th, You can see this line of showers and thunderstorms pushing into Ohio. Could this mean some beneficial rain for central and southern Ohio? It is quite possible. You can see this broken line of thunderstorms. Cleveland kind of getting in on it through 11 a.m. on Thursday morning here. Columbus down to Cincinnati. Pittsburgh also getting in the act. And that's going to progress eastward throughout the day. Here's 2 p.m. That's our last frame, actually. You can see this is going to be pushing into eastern Ohio, western New York, and western Pennsylvania. And here we go with your Wednesday severe weather. It's mainly looking like parts of Kansas and western parts of Missouri here. So there you have it. The rest outside this range, these light greens, that's just general thunderstorms. Now, if we take a look at a Thursday here, let's get that going. Yeah, that's going to shift to the east, this marginal threat. I would not be surprised if this is expanded a little bit into parts of the eastern Great Lakes and to parts of the northeast, and maybe a slight risk in some areas. All right, so for our GFS run, picking up where our feature radar left off, there is that storm system moving through parts of the Northeast and Ohio Valley. You can see some convection along it. Watch out as we stretch through 5 p.m. Rush hour, I-81 corridor, New York, Pennsylvania, stretching through the Poconos, Catskills, through evening into the Hudson Valley, New Jersey, exiting into New England is a much weaker system. Now, look at this tropical moisture clip in South Florida. We're also seeing some more storm systems as we see. This is Saturday, unfortunately. So now the GFS is coming around to the European on this solution with some showers and thunderstorms across the interior Northeast right around 5 p.m. GFS is slower with it, so more areas would see an all-day rain event. I'll show you the Euro. It's a little more optimistic for your weekend. Now, as we stretch through the 7th into the 8th, you do start to see this tropical moisture getting up into North Carolina, Virginia, also down in through eastern Texas here, the Gulf Coast. This could try to develop into something along the north-central Gulf Coast. We'll watch it, but I don't think it'll be anything majorly tropical. Look at this. Right around September 9th into the 10th, look at this surge of moisture up here with this system. That could be a big gully washer up here into the northeast, bring some beneficial rains, and then you see this trough just kicking off the coast to help steer this system initially off the coast. You see it's down the troughs all the way down to Florida here. High pressure building up through the northeast, but the big wild card here, as I showed you in the tropics, is this high combining forces, this area of troughiness getting shoved off to the northeast, and then we start to see this low from what's left of our major hurricane come up here into the Gulf of Maine and towards Nova Scotia. So that's a scenario we'll have to keep a very close watch on here. So picking up where our feature radar left off, on our European run, you can see what's moving through the lakes here. We see it across eastern Ohio, western New York, Pennsylvania, midday into early afternoon on Thursday. So Thursday's the big day here for wet weather. Severe thunderstorms, parts of Pennsylvania, New York, down into parts of West Virginia, these areas. So watch out. We do get, look at this. This is a big upper level low forming. And then we just got to get these low pressures pinwheeling southward, bringing another short wave through the area as we get into Saturday. Let's take a look, see what's going to happen here. So this moisture kind of pulls off to the east of Florida and North Carolina, but we do get a little bit of a disturbance trying to move through parts of interior New York and Pennsylvania, more so here on the European run as of late, and that could spark some showers and thunderstorms later in the day. It looks like it is a quick mover, though, so it's not going to be across your area all day, it looks like, but you can see, look at these boundary areas here. You can see that trough just carving out across the east, and that's going to continue those below average temperatures. And look at this high pressure just building in for Monday, September 8th. As we continue through time, yeah, it's the southeast Gulf Coast areas. This is where we're going to watch the tropical moisture just focus along this old boundary across Florida, South Carolina, and eventually it tries to make a run up towards the Outer Banks in eastern North Carolina towards September 12th. So watch out, a low pressure trying to form here. But this could be the saving grace for the East Coast, because here's our system. This trough helps to kick that massive hurricane at this time out to sea. So it's all about timing. But look at this. Doesn't this, right around September 16th, I know this is pretty far out, doesn't this look like an MCS system dropping down from Ontario, Canada into north central Pennsylvania? It sure does. So we're going to get these potent storms, these low pressure systems that pinwheel southward here out of Canada. And for total precipitation here on our European run, yeah, you can tell there's an upper low blasting up here through parts of Ontario. We'll get into that on my Canadian weather outlook in just a couple minutes here. But look at this. As we head through the weekend, look at that. That's not looking very good for Saturday through parts of the interior Northeast and Ohio Valley. We'll keep an eye South Florida as well, the Gulf. Eventually next week, North Carolina could be your time to get clipped. We'll see come the middle of the month. But there it is. Look at this. Parts of Michigan upwards of 4 or 5 inches. Yeah, generalized 3/4 to 1 inch across much of Ohio into interior New York and Pennsylvania here. Look at South Florida, right around 4 or 5 inches likely. So far, our rainfall amounts on our GFS run, very similar to the Euro as we stretch through some of this happening over the weekend, unfortunately, right around Saturday. Some areas approaching 3/4 to 1 inch in that narrow band. Another surge right around Tuesday into Wednesday of the following week, 9th and 10th, the Northeast. So we'll watch out for some wet weather kicking in as well. So yeah, we're getting some chances of some rain here. Look at Louisiana, Southeast Texas, South Florida. Yeah, that's concerning, although you do need the rain. Look at that. That's 8 to 9 inches of rain, South Florida. Houston area, 10 inches. New Orleans, 5, 6, 7 inches. So you know there's a lot of tropical moisture. It's just so strange that we haven't had a major tropical system in the Gulf yet. And before we continue with more weather coverage, if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to read and respond to your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, we just shattered 20,000 subscribers. Thank you, everyone. Let's chug our way to 30,000 subscribers next. Hit that subscribe bell notification button if you haven't already. And don't forget, I am working on my 2025-2026 winter outlook. So watch out for that shortly. Let's continue. All right, so let's take a look at the European. Yeah, look at this mega East Coast trough, Eastern North America, I should say, because it's including the Great Lakes and areas east as well. Through the weekend, you can see it just kind of camps out because it's kind of stuck between these two mega ridges. It does start to lift out, though, and we start to see some ridginess, if that's even a word, back along the East Coast until we start to see this trough kick in again. That's going to be perfect timing for our hurricane. Because it looks like at this point, I know it's all about timing and things can change this far out. That's September 14th. Yeah. So please stay tuned. This is not a definite whether this is going to deflect out to sea or not. We're just hoping at this point since the trends have been this way. But that if that trough held back further or outpaced it and just raced to the northeast, then we would have some trouble. This hurricane would be allowed to steer west-northwest. We'll keep an eye on it here, but look at this. As we head through September 17th, we have this cutoff low that's helping to deflect our storm, but like I said, it's all about timing with a big ridge forming behind it. And if we look at our NAO index here, you can see we are right around neutral. We'll dip a little bit negative through the second, third week of September, and we'll bounce towards the neutral phase again late month. And looking at our MJO index here, you can see we are right around phase 2, 1, 3, very close in here. We'll likely just progress towards phase 2 and then maybe towards phase 1. It may become a little bit more active come mid to late September in Eastern North America and the Western Atlantic. All right, so what do we got going on in the Western Pacific here? Well, not a whole lot, really. Although, you know, the Philippines, central Philippines look pretty dry here, parts of South China as well. But we're watching an area of low pressure that is going to affect Japan. This is kind of strange because usually if you get an area of low pressure, it's going to be tropical this time of year because Japan, you know, is past its main monsoon season, so to speak. But it looks like we're going to see a double barrel low set up over Japan here over the next couple of days. That does head out to sea. We do see another one replace it here. Just south of Taiwan. We'll watch an area of low pressure move through the Korean Peninsula here. Seoul, some showers as we move through the 6th into the 7th. That heading towards Japan. Another area of low pressure heading towards Hong Kong here. It may be tropical in nature as we continue to go through time. But look at this down through portions southeast of the Philippines. We'll have to keep an eye on that, although it does start to fizzle by then. But look at this. The whole theme seems to be some strong synoptic flow here coming off of Asia. And that's going to continue for Japan. Look at this. Some heavy rain, thunderstorms moving through around the 10th into the 11th. Very heavy rain. We're going to go over those rainfall amounts. Looks like Japan's getting a lot of rainfall. Japan is also getting that big troughiness like the U.S. East Coast is getting into. So that's a thing. Our weather is correlating quite well. You see South Korea, another storm knocking on your doorstep here. But look at this. We're just lining up these tropical waves out here into the intertropical convergence zone. And Western Pacific rainfall totals here. Yeah, as we go through the weekend, Japan is going to be moistening up here. South Korea looks pretty dry through this until about next Sunday and Monday. Look at the northern Philippines getting hit, but that's pretty typical of you. 100, 150. Parts of, look at this, Japan. Upwards of 200 millimeters in some of these areas. And we just progress this. South Korea gets in on it too. Look at that. Parts of South China, up by Shanghai, all the way down to Vietnam. And of course, the Philippines with your regular monsoon. And looking at the Eastern Pacific here, we actually have a tropical storm, Lorena, here. That's going to be paralleling the coast and becoming a hurricane. We're also watching a fish storm out here, Kiko. Hurricane Kiko is going to become a major hurricane, and you can see it's going to become a problem for the Hawaiian Islands eventually. We're going to watch over the next couple weeks as this approaches a big wave maker, but we'll see how close it gets here. You can see Lorena pushing up towards the Baja California here as it makes landfall right around September 5th into the 6th. So we're looking Friday into Saturday, and then another landfall here into northwestern Mexico. And there is our system, Kiko. Yeah, major hurricane. If we go pretty far out here, September 10th, it's going to get really close here to the big island of Hawaii. It is going to fizzle slowly, but this could be a big thing for Hawaii. So for our Canadian weather outlook, yeah, it's going to be really quiet out here. The Yukon, British Columbia, Alberta, parts of Saskatchewan as well. It's northern Saskatchewan, Manitoba. You're going to get clipped by these northerly systems running down the mill here, so to speak. You can see Ontario, we got this big old upper level low through the 4th into the 5th, and that's where we're going to see these low pressure systems just pinwheel across southern Ontario and eventually Quebec as we head on into the weekend. I know that's not great news, bad, but it does help keep the wildfire situation in check. Unlike out here in Alberta, Saskatchewan, British Columbia, watch out. This is not looking good, but at least you're getting some rain back east here. Look at New Brunswick by the 6th. You're getting this wave of low pressure, some tropical moisture kicking in up into the Canadian Maritimes as this upper level low just winds up east of Hudson Bay and into northeastern North America. Look at the flow pattern here. We do start to see evidence we may see a light Pacific system move into British Columbia here with some southerly flow, so that'll be welcome. Does it get into Alberta? Not really. That's unfortunate. Look at this high pressure, though, kicking in across parts of Ontario and Manitoba, Saskatchewan, these areas. Look at this Pacific system, though, as we get towards September 12th. This is a big old area of low pressure, and we're going to finally start to see some rain through Alberta, Saskatchewan area. In fact, these areas across southern Saskatchewan could see some severe weather. But look at eastern Canada. It looks like the tables are turning. This mega high 1034 millibar high sets up. And our Canadian rainfall outlook, let's take a look at that. So yeah, you can see where the ridge is, the Death Ridge. Unfortunately, nothing for Alberta and British Columbia. The wildfire situation will be getting imperative here. Yeah, you can see the trend here. It's that you do start to get a little bit of precipitation, but it's not a lot. Look at eastern Canada, though. If we zoom in, this is where you're going to see these areas 100, 150 millimeters in these orangish, yellowish zones. Outside of this, we're seeing a generalized 40 to 60 with locally higher 60 millimeters. And look at that, New Brunswick there as well getting clipped. Temperatures are going to be really interesting here. Look at the northern plains and upper Midwest, 60s, low 60s, 90s here into the southern plains. And look at this, nice 70s and even some low 80s along the East Coast. As we head into Thursday, that cooler air is going to spill across the lakes. Look at that, 65 in Cleveland, all the way up to the upper 50s here in parts of Minnesota. So it's almost feeling like fall is trying to exert an early start here across the north. Now look we do get into the 90s here into parts of interior North Carolina, South Carolina, all the way up into parts of Maryland and Virginia. So we're going to watch out for this trend continuing. We see the battleground setting up here, 90s to the southeast here. And look at this, 60s and 70s. So very temperate across the east. As we get into Sunday, you see those 60s spilling across the lakes here into the interior parts of the northeast, with 70s suppressed all the way down into parts of the deep south. And as we head into Monday, September 8th, yeah, we're still continuing those upper 60s here across parts of the interior Northeast and upper Great Lakes. Extended forecast from hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton, Upper Susquehanna, River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. So we continue through the rest of the week here. It's a nice sunny day Wednesday. However, clouds will be increasing Thursday morning with showers and thunderstorms likely, especially in the afternoon and evening hours into Thursday night. Some of these could be strong. Damaging wind gusts would be the main threat. Also some very heavy rain, but you do need the rain into Friday. Look at that, mostly sunny into Saturday as well. Temperatures cooling to the 70s. Plenty more weather to come. Here is a look at my affiliate. Check out these awesome, amazing maps. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease, or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below, along with your discount code. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget, it's MeteoMark.com. And don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button, or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks, everyone. Share that video. Subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button.